Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. Now today I have an important question for you guys. You want to see me feed all my fish? That's right, we're going to do a feeding video. I haven't done a feeding video in quite a while. I think it was my third video I ever did. So it was time to do another one. And it just happened to be perfect timing. Because what did I get in the mail the other day? A huge shipment of food from North Fin Fish Food. They sent me their food for me to be able to review on my channel. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity. I wanted to make a feeding video. I got North Fin Fish Food. So what we're gonna do is feed all my fish just the North Fin Fish Food. Now, this isn't gonna be your normal review video where I'm gonna go over every single ingredient, everything about the packaging and so on. I will talk about it some during the video, but I don't eat the food. You don't eat the food, our fish eat it, right? So I'm gonna let my fish be the judge and tell us whether they like it or not. Now, before we get started, I just want to say thank you very much to North Fin Fish Food for giving me the opportunity to be able to showcase your food on my channel. It's much appreciated, and I thank you very much. And with that being said, let's go get our feed on. So let's start with my 29-gallon tank that houses my pink endlers and my blue dream shrimp, and we're going to feed them the community flake. Now, there's one thing I noticed by looking at these bags of food they gave me, and that is the ingredients. There are some high-quality ingredients in here. There's lots of krill and herring seem to be like the top ingredients in most of these foods, and there's no fillers, not like some of this other crappy food you get sometimes. This is some actual high-quality food, and I just want to point that out. As you can tell, the fish really like it. It's like at my work when you put out donuts or a cake, everyone swarms to that break room to get it. These guys like this food as well. I'm also going to feed this tank the community pellets. Now, as you'll see also in other parts of this video, I like to feed my fish more than just one food at a time. And the reason being is I have so many shrimp and snails in a lot of these tanks, and I like to make sure everyone gets food. And also different size fish of these live bears. So some people may say I overfeed my tanks, and I've heard that before, but to me it's really a perception. I feed more for a reason. I like to get all my younger fish to be able to get the food, and I also like to feed my snails and shrimp. And then moving on, this is my pair of silver veil angels that are in a 29-gallon tank, and as you can see, they just laid eggs again last night. And what I'm going to feed these guys today are the krill flakes. These guys love flake food. I feed them some of the other North Fin foods already too, but flake food, no matter what it is their favorite. I fed them the cichlid flakes, the community flakes, and also these krill flakes, and they love them all. Now, there's one thing I also noticed feeding this fish food to my fish is that I don't find myself getting any cloudy water after feeding my fish like I have with some of the cheaper fish foods I've used in the past. And I'm assuming that has to do more with the high-quality ingredients that this North Fin Fish Food has. But that is one thing that I do like about this food. Well, it looks like my angels like the food. They give it 2 thumbs up. Then this is my 29-gallon tank that has my high-fin blue coral varieties in it and a bunch of cherry shrimp and snails, and I'm going to feed it community flake as well. Now, as you watch these guys eat, I just want to say that I plan on doing a few more reviews of some of the individual foods that I was sent. I know this video is kind of an overview quickly of a lot of the different foods, and that was kind of my point. I wanted to showcase all of them in one bigger video, but I want to get a little more in depth with a few more of the individual ones after I fed them a few more weeks so I can give my own personal opinion on a lot of these foods. But I can tell you right now, so far, the fish have absolutely been loving it. And then we're also going to drop some community pellets in here. As I said before in that Endler tank, how I like to feed more in my tanks. I want to touch a little bit on the snail part of it. I like to feed extra too because I like my snails to reproduce as much as I can. And the reason being for that is, well, one, I find them to be fantastic cleaners in your tanks, but I use them to feed my Fahaka puffer. They are a food source for me. So by me feeding a little extra for them to eat more and reproduce more, it saves me money and gives me another food source for my puffer. Next up are my koi angels, and we're going to feed them the cichlid flake. Now, what I noticed with this flake is it's a thicker flake compared to the community or krill flake. And I'm assuming that has more to do with the fact that it's meant for cichlids, which could be a larger fish, so there's more substance to it. Now, what I like about Northfin's flake foods is the selection. You have the community flake, the krill flake, and the cichlid flake. So you have a selection of flake food that you can choose from depending on the type of fish that you have. Now, really, probably any fish could eat any of the actual flake because there's such high quality ingredients in them. But I like that there is a selection for each individual hobbyist to choose from depending on what fish that they have. This 20 long houses guppies, shrimp, and snails, and we're going to feed it the krill flake and the nanobites. Now, I put both the krill flake and the nanobites in at the same time. Now, I typically only feed this tank flakes for the most part, and they were a little confused at first by the pellets from the nanobites that I put in there, but once they realized it was food, they started mowing down on it, and they absolutely loved it. And right here is a perfect example of why I overfeed my tanks for the most part. Do you see much food hitting the bottom? Not very much at all, so I need to feed my shrimp and snails as well. And this 10-gallon tank, we're going to feed Beta Bites and Community Flakes. Now, this tank is partly my daughter's, as you can tell by the decorations, and that Beta is hers. So first we're going to feed the Beta Bites. I'm really excited about this food. I've been feeding some off-brand foods for this fish, and I'm really curious to see how these high-quality ingredients in this one will interact with this fish. And as you can tell, so far he's liking it. So this will be one food that I think I will be doing more of an in-depth review on later. But as you can see, like I said before, the fish really seems to be liking this food so far. And then next we're going to be feeding the community flake for the mixed guppies I have in here, because this is a little breeding project. The population has been growing quite a bit in here, so the food intake has to be upped a little bit. And there's also a mass load of cherry shrimp in here as well. This tank houses my koi swordtails, and I'm going to be feeding them the Krill Pro pellets and also Bug Pro pellets. But first, let's start with the Krill Pro. Now, as I said earlier with my guppy tank, I typically feed this tank as well, mostly flake food. So putting these pellets in here at first, I think they were a little not sure what they were, but once they figured out that it was food, game on. And that's another thing I like about Northfin is their line of fish foods. They're such high quality ingredients, like I've touched on so many times already in this video, but to be able to switch off from flake to pellet and to be able to give your fish different options of things to eat, I think that's very important in your fish, to not feed the same thing over and over and over again. So that's a big plus for me when it comes to this Northfin fish food. Now I'm going to throw in some Bug Pro. And I want to say that this will definitely be one of the foods that I do an in-depth standalone review video on. I've been feeding this food to most of my fish since I recorded this video, and I'm very impressed with it. And I really like this food so far a lot. So I want to do more of an in-depth look at it to kind of showcase it for everybody. Now this tank houses a lot of my mixed guppies and endlers that I brought in from my summer tubs, and a bunch of cherry shrimp, and we're going to go back to the good old standard community flake. As you can see, I've fed this one probably 3 or 4 times now in this video, and that is because, like I said, I'm a big flake feeder, and I find this food to be a good flake that you can feed to any fish. And as you can tell so far, they all have liked it. One of the reasons why I like to feed flake food so much in my tanks, because most of my tanks are live bearers, and there are so many baby fry, especially in this tank. There's probably close to 100 little ones in there, and to be able to crumble that flake up into smaller little pieces for them to eat is very important to me, and that is a big reason why I love flake food. Now this container I've been giving special attention to over the last few weeks, and I'll be feeding it fry starter. Because in here I have some baby angelfish that I had gotten from my silver veil angels. I hatched them out in here and had been feeding them, but I had a mass die-off in here, and I think a lot of it had to do is with the food I was feeding. I was feeding it a different food that wasn't meant for fry, and when I got this food, I already had only like 7 or 8 of them left out of probably the 50 plus. But I am making a full-length video on this whole process, and I am very happy with this fry starter fish food. Well, these are my nano tanks, and they want to join in on the fun as well and get fed some community flake as well. Like I said before, this community flake is an all-around awesome flake that can be fed to pretty much any fish. And in here I have 3 guppies and a bunch of snails, and this is also a breeding project, and I'm feeding them this high-quality flake food that they absolutely love, as you can see here. And this is my 100-gallon indoor little mini pond that houses 2 of my goldfish and a mix of other fish. But today we're going to be feeding the veggie pellets, and we're going to be pinpointing the goldfish for this. And as you can tell here in a minute or two, they are going to absolutely devour it. And that's one thing I like about this Northfin line, is they're different types of foods. Not only do they have the meaty foods, they also have the veggie foods, because all fish should really get some type of veggie in their diet as well. Next up are the kelp wafers. I'm going to throw these in every single tank that has shrimp in them. I want to be able to feed the shrimp and the snails within them. Like I said, those are an important part of my ecosystem, so they need to be fed as well. So what have we found so far with Northfin Fish Foods feeding in this video? I found that they have an excellent line of fish foods. They have not only meaty foods, they have veggie foods. They have different lines targeted for different fish. And that's very important for hobbyists, in my opinion. But most importantly, like I said in the beginning of this video, the fish are going to be the judge of this food. And as you can see throughout this video and right here, I think they absolutely loved it. And so do I. This is awesome food with awesome ingredients from an awesome company. And like I said earlier, there will be future standalone review videos on some of these individual foods. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you do not want to miss any of them. Well, I hope you enjoyed that feeding video featuring the Northfin fish food. Like I said in the beginning of the video, the fish were going to be the judge of this, and they absolutely loved it, in my opinion. So did I. Now, I want to give another special thank you again to Northfin Fish Foods for allowing me to be able to showcase your food on my channel. Greatly appreciated. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, hit that subscribe button, and hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.